Hello, welcome to Gardener's World. Now, March is full of flowers that are emerging, you've got bulbs, but nothing matches the regal, almost voluptuous richness of hellebores. They look good as they are in clumps with their flower heads bent down, but when you then look within, you realise that they are really special. One problem that hellebores are prone to, it's a fungal problem. This is leaf spot. It's not a total disaster, but you do need to watch out for it. And you can see there's a leaf here with the characteristic chocolate splodges. And the best thing to do about that is to remove the old foliage, cut it off at the base. Don't put that on the compost heap. The best thing to do with those is either burn them or bin them and have them taken away. But keep them separate from the rest of the plants because that will spread the fungus. This week, Carol begins a project helping out a couple to reclaim their very overgrown garden.
It wasn't until we moved in that we thought, I wonder what we're going to do with this.
And Jo is looking how professional garden designers use the tricks of the trade to make even a small garden feel bigger than it really is.
This small garden has instant impact from the second you leave the back door. The perfect antidote to its urban surrounds.
It's tricky to produce a really good hellebore seedling, but we visit a woman who's dedicated the past 10 years of her life to doing exactly that.
I am the bee flying around flower to flower, creating new youngsters that are coming on.
Well, not only am I going to be planting some fresh hellebores, but I've got a fresh place to plant them. This has been, for the past few years, the area where we had our shreddings, leaves to make leaf mould, all be moved, dug up, mulched, ready for planting on a grand scale. And these are going to be the first to go in the ground. And I've chosen them for their slight apple greenness and touch of sort of primrose yellow. So you can see that's got a rather pale, delicate colour with intense plum-coloured markings. Put some planks down so I don't tread on the soil and compact it. And I've placed these hellebores away from the trees. It's a bit of a myth that hellebores do well in shade. On the whole, they thrive in soil that is rich and holds some moisture and in as much sun as you've got to give them. They can cope with shade, but it's not ideal. Although this is generally woodland planting, this is right at the edge of it. Nice rich soil, lots of compost added. Now, I will water those in, but for the moment, that's the beginning of this border. Now, let's go to another type. This is a very different hellebore. This is Hellebores foetidus, the stinking hellebore. If you crush the leaves, it's a little bit whiffy, but not too bad at all. It will have apple green tubular flowers which are ringed with blood red. It has the great virtue of growing well in dry shade. So what I thought I'd do is have a drift of them along the back here, and the trees and the hedge would absorb too much moisture. Some people find hellebores, the leaves and the flowers, slightly toxic or irritating. So if you're worried about that, wash your hands after you've touched them. Hopefully, they will be happy and create a nice big drift. Breeders need a special kind of patience and dedication to select out that special plant. And we went to visit Juliet Davis, who is one of those dedicated hellebore breeders, who is a self-confessed hellebore addict.
I think hellebores really start the whole year off. It's so lovely to have colour in the garden at a time of year when there's only snowdrops around. They just get me. I just love them. And my children. There's always surprises. and you create a bond with them. I've always been a grower of plants. I used to grow a lot of perennial plants, and within the garden there was a hellebore, a native hellebore, which was just a purpley one. And then I started looking around and realizing that people were beginning to grow other more interesting ones. And I thought, if some of the other breeders can do it, why can't I have a go? It takes 4 years from actually collecting your seed until you have a flowering plant. It's a real labor of love, but to me, it's truly worth it. There's a great fascination with hellebores because you have the single-flowered ones, you have the double ones, and then you have the anemone ones with the raised inner ruff. And they could be spotted, or they could be striped, or they could also be picotees, and the edges of these flowers will be pink. The single ones are easier to breed. The anemones are coming along well, but the doubles are more difficult. The stigma inside the buds can be so tiny that they just can't grasp that pollen at the right stage. I can never produce enough doubles, and just not so easy. This is where I keep my best plants and do all my pollinating. The doors always have to be closed to keep the bees out. I am very selective. As they come into flower, I lift up the heads and see what they're going to do. And I make an assessment and bring them in here and then pollinate. If I wasn't so selective, I would not end up with lovely colours, good strong plants. They would be a mixture of plants. I just find the fascination of the whole process is just incredible. You're working with nature. I am the bee flying around flower to flower and creating new youngsters that are coming on. So this is how I pollinate. I take 2 flowers, and in this instance, they're both picotee. This one's got a lovely creamy face with a darker back and a darker edge. And this one is actually an anemone flower. So I'm hoping that I will end up with a nice picotee at the end. So you're taking a stamen from an open flower. So I use tweezers. And you take a bud which is just opening, and I'm just going to pass the tip with the pollen very gently onto the stigma. There we are. So now I would mark that with a piece of wool. It's easier than you think. And the more you practice, the better you become. What I really would like to achieve is I do love this colour. I mean, to me, it's a bluey grey. Now, I don't have an anemone one, and I don't have a double in this colour yet. And if I manage that, that will be very exciting. Once you're a grower, you're always a grower, and there's always going to be room for one more.
Just as Juliet's hellebores are reaching their full floral beauty, the grasses here at Longmeadow have done their year's work. They look good all winter, but now I need to cut them back and clear the bed so that they can start it all over again, ready for summer. Of course, in order to get that fresh growth coming through, almost all of this top dried material from last year simply needs to be cut back and cleared away. And for the herbaceous grasses, like miscanthus, that's easy. Just cut them back to the ground. Now, when you come to evergreen grasses like this steeper, you can simply tell they're evergreen because there's green at the tops. Don't cut it back, simply run your hand through it and comb it like that. And what you're doing is pulling out the dead material. this is hot work. Jacket's coming off. So the next stage is to take stock with the bare soil, and you can see what's going on, weed what wants to come out, and then I can mulch it. The principle is exactly the same whether you're doing 4 big beds or just 1 square foot. Now, this is crushed bark with a little addition of tennis ball. The tennis ball, of course, is a magic horticultural ingredient, according to Nigel. Crushed bark in this place because I don't want to add too much fertility. High fertility means lush, strong growth, and that is wonderful for fungi, for aphids, but what you want is steady, strong, stocky growth, so the plant isn't overstretched. You can mulch with hay or straw. In the past, I've used garden compost. That's the king of mulches if you've got enough. But whatever you put on, the key is to put it on thick enough. You need at least 2 inches, and 4 inches is perfectly reasonable. And just spread it round the plants you want to keep. These forget-me-nots are fine, but knowing that it is going over the plants that you don't want, and it's got to be thick enough to block light and to keep in moisture if you've only got a certain amount. Better to do half a border really well this year and leave the other half unmulched, and then do the opposite next year. Now, all this is about getting the garden so it looks as good as possible in summer. But Carol is joining a couple who've just bought a house with a garden, and they want to make it the garden of their dreams. But it's really overgrown, and they don't really know where to start. So Carol is at hand, and she'll be guiding and steering them over the course of the next few months.
Sally and Jeff moved into their new home last autumn. It's a beautiful location, but it was the garden that really sold it to them. Now they're in, they don't know where to begin, so they've called on me for a bit of horticultural help.
There's a lot of work, I think, needed, and we're not really sure where to start.
It wasn't until we moved in that we thought, I wonder what we're going to do with this.
This year, I'm going to help them peel back the years and rejuvenate this garden to uncover its glory. It's such a lovely spot, isn't it?
It is. We think it's idyllic.
What do you want from a garden? What are you interested in?
I like flowers and colour.
Well, I quite like structure in a garden.
You want it sorted, don't you? And organised.
Yes, I quite like it ordered, but not neat.
An established garden has its benefits, doesn't it? Because you don't want any clean canvas. You want to appreciate what you've got.
No,
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got some really smashing shrubs here.
For this one, for instance, we've got loads of it all over the place, but I don't know what it is.
It's called, I think now, brachyglottis. It's a daisy. It's a stalwart. Even if you take it right down to the base, it's going to come back. Look a bit bald, first of all, but never mind.
And what's this one with the nice leaves?
This is an evergreen viburnum. I think it's called Davidii. In fact, I'm sure it is. And it has bunches of little white flowers.
So can we prune this back?
I really wouldn't do that. If you actually look deep in here, can you see? It's almost completely bare at the base.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So make the most of that, but perhaps encourage it by taking out that.
Yes, giving it a bit more room.
And giving it more light and air. And you've got a pond.
Oh, I know. I'm so thrilled to finally have a pond. I've always wanted one, so I'm delighted to have it.
And what do you want it to be?
I think it suits the setting, really, to be a wildlife area.
Just because it's wild doesn't mean to say that it doesn't need maintaining. Well, we'll put it off because you've got frog spawn in there, so we don't want to disturb that. No. So we'll let everything do its thing, let the dragonflies hatch, and then perhaps have a go at it later on.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
It looks dead.
Isn't that beautiful? It's a magnificent tree peony.
Ah.
At the end of all these stems are these big fat buds, and they're going to make the most beautiful, enormous yellow flowers. And the thing about it is, here where it is, really it should be resplendent. So you've got to think about perhaps taking out this hypericum.
Yes.
So you can view it everywhere. You've got apple trees.
Yeah, they look a funny size and shape to me. They look very low to the ground.
I think they're lovely. I think they're charming.
Oh, good.
But you need to prune them, and you need to do it very soon. 'Cause
Right.
as soon as they start coming into leaf and flower, then you're too late.
Quite a few trees in the garden, haven't we?
Yeah, you sure have.
One we have a problem with is this one here. Takes a lot of light from the house.
What is it, Carol?
It's a Portugal laurel, and you could possibly thin it out a bit, take out some of the branches,
All
but it's
right.
always going to want to be dense and evergreen. But it's more than I can say for this rather sorry specimen.
Yes, it seems to have reached the end of its life.
Well, I think you obviously ought to have that out. But there are a few other conifers that are a bit problematic.
Yes, there's one very close to the house that we feel ought to come out.
It's far too big, really, isn't it, where it
Yeah.
is?
Get professional help, get a tree surgeon in.
Should we do it fairly soon?
Definitely.
Yes.
I mean, any work on trees you want to be doing before the birds start nesting. So that's definitely one for the professionals.
Right.
But no excuses here, eh?
No, I think we should just get on with it and get it down.
Right.
Okay.
OK. It's lovely to see your garden. You know, it's so evident that it's had such a lot of love in it, hasn't it, over the years? And I know you're going to put lots more into it and just
Going to try.
onwards. By tackling these dead and overgrown trees, Sally and Jeff will get a clearer picture of what their garden could become.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to see the transformation in Sally and Jeff's garden. And we'll do that because we'll be joining Carol as she pays repeated visits, steering them towards a beautiful garden. Now is the time to sow sweet peas. And it doesn't matter what you choose, the technique is the same. And I've got some seed compost that is probably a little bit richer than you would normally use for seed. I've added a bit of my own leaf mould and sieved garden compost, but any peat-free potting compost with a little bit more drainage will do well. A few years ago, we did a trial here at Longmeadow, and we found that by sowing them now, in March, you really got maximum flower from your sweet peas. You can direct sow them in May, but they take much longer to flower. I've got a variety here called Gilly, which I've never grown before, but I've chosen it because I want to make a scented garden, a garden which really all the focus is on fragrance and aroma. And this, by repute, is delicious. And I put 3 to a pot. And if only one germinates, I keep it there and don't add to it. If all 3, then I plant them all out as a group, so I don't thin them out. And this technique works really well for me. Give them a little bit of protection. Doesn't need to be a greenhouse. It could be a porch or a windowsill. Water them and let them alone. Right, in the fullness of time, they'll be ready to plant out into my new scented garden and fill the air with delicious fragrance. Now, I do realise that most people live in towns, and most town gardens are limited in size. And Joe is continuing his series looking at ways of making the most of any town garden, and above all, on how to make it feel as spacious as possible.
In a small town garden, it may seem impossible to fit everything in and not be dominated by your urban surroundings. But as this garden by Chris Moss demonstrates, with some careful design choices, you can create a personal oasis that defies its dimensions. This small garden has instant impact from the second you leave the back door. It's just 5 metres wide by 22 metres long. But this plant-filled haven is the perfect antidote to its urban surrounds. This is a west-facing garden, and the layout has started with ways to get the best from the sun. There are three main areas for seating. Down the bottom there, perfect because it relates to the kitchen. And then where I am now catches the afternoon sun. And then at the end, there's another seating area around here, and that catches the morning sun beautifully. So we've got three areas to sit. But what I really love about this garden and what makes it for me is this simple path. It just arcs all the way through the garden. And what that does is create a nice, generous bed on the right-hand side, the sunny side, but also plenty of plants on the other side too. The only other elements are some screens, and the two key ones are one towards the back, which screens off the storage area and a compost heap, and there's one halfway down this bed here, but they're not very tall. They reveal themselves in the winter when the planting dies down. The rest of it is all about the plants that come around these seating areas, and there's plenty of height in the planting, so you feel completely enveloped in them. A very small garden gives you the opportunity to create your own personalised space, and that starts with the boundaries. In this garden, right outside the door, the walls have been painted black. It's a good low-budget option for a small space. Now, black may seem like a really brave colour to use in the garden, but here I think it's so effective. It actually recedes into the background and makes the space feel bigger. But also, it intensifies the greens of the plant in front of it, like the tree fern and the box. They look absolutely perfect. There's not too many colours fighting together. It's just the green and the black, and that's it. But further into the planting, there's a more naturalistic approach. It's really nice to see a hedge in a city, this wonderful beech hedge, which filters the wind, filters the light, it reflects the seasons because it'll turn a wonderful autumn colour. And from a design point of view, what it does is sort of blur the boundary of the garden, can't quite work out exactly where it ends, so actually makes it feel bigger. When it comes to planting, repetition and simplicity help stretch a small space. But restricting your choices doesn't mean everything will look the same. There's a huge variety of plants in this garden, but the one structural evergreen plant that's tying it all together is box. Now, we often see it in a formal garden, but here, because we've got different sized box balls in different sized pots, it starts that informal theme. The box is cleverly woven throughout the garden, straddling either side of the path. Here we've got a large mounded form nestled in amongst the softer planting. And then on the other side, because box can thrive in sun or shade, we've got this lovely cloud-pruned hedge. Now, it's a bold statement, but this garden doesn't have any lawn at all, so this box is providing plenty of green all year round. In a tiny garden like this, the finishing touches are so important. It's all about keeping it simple. It's easy to want to get carried away with the decorative elements in a garden, and it can overall look a little bit fussy and a bit confused. What I really like about this garden is that there are these pots in front of the screens, 3 of them dotted throughout, which accentuate the width of the garden but also the length. It's understated and it's really classy, and it harmonises the garden as a whole. And those screens also work well as a foil for lighting at night to create focal points that mark out the garden. While closer to the house, the lighting here really helps set the mood. This garden has everything you'd want from a small space. It's got plenty of variety, some wonderful planting, privacy from the neighbours, and plenty of places to sit. But what I really like about it is that it hasn't been divided up into rooms and it hasn't been compartmentalised. So there's a lovely seamless flow throughout to create a unique city garden.
At this time of year, the garden reveals its treasures by degrees, you get these little moments of glory, whether it be a crocus coming through or some new foliage. But nothing so far this year has given me more pleasure than the catkins of the purple hazel. These pink lamb's tails are absolutely lovely. Now, of course, as well as enjoying the highlights at this time of year, there are jobs that have to be done. And here are some jobs that you can be getting on with at home this weekend. One of the first seeds that you can sow in your vegetable garden or allotment are broad beans. Dig the ground over and add some compost or manure, then rake it level. I like to sow them in double rows, the width of a plank. Space the beans about 3 or 4 inches apart, rake them over lightly and leave them to grow. It's time to prune the late flowering clematis, like Clematis verticella, that produce a mass of small blooms after the middle of June and carry on right through into autumn. These new flowers are produced on the current season's growth, so everything that grew last year can be cut away. I like to leave a couple of buds, so there's about a foot of growth, but otherwise be brave and cut hard. Rhubarb is growing strongly now, but there's still a high percentage of leaf to stem. But if you force it, all the energy goes into the stems, and they're extra sweet. So as the buds emerge, cover them up and a bucket will do the job fine. Make sure there's no light, and in a few weeks' time, you should be able to harvest deliciously sweet, succulent stems. Now look what I found. This is a hedgehog. It was hibernating in amongst the grasses. Still very sleepy, but hedgehogs are becoming terribly rare. And if you find one in the garden, you must look after it. Now, what I'm going to do is put him somewhere where he can continue to hibernate and wake up naturally. I've got a pile of sticks and twigs round the corner, and if I bury him in that, he'll be safe from people like Nigel and worse. And then when he's ready to wake up, he'll be able to come out at his own time and pace. Now, I left this pile for wildlife, for things like hedgehogs to use. But let's just lift that up. In you go, fella. In you go. Cover him up. Well, let's hope he's okay. Well, that's exciting and a privilege. And that's it for this time. Bye-bye.